Got it. Okay. All right. I think we are live on YouTube. I'm going to pull it up. Good morning. Hello. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. My name is Lily Newhouse. I am here with Lynn and Leslie of Leslie Liondas CPA PLLC, something like that. Did I get those right?
Yes, you did.
Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here with me today. I'm going to pull this out and make sure. Ooh, yep. Make sure we're good. We are live. And it looks good. So we're not on the exact link that we were originally planning on, but we're live. So, hey, we'll take it, right? So today I wanted to talk a little bit about running a team, because one of the things I hear the most from my clients when they are in the process of scaling their business is fear about hiring, fear about delegating, fear about leading, right? Like these are all things that sometimes we don't even realize when we start our own business that we're going to be getting into down the line of being leaders, being at an executive level in a business. When we start, it's just one person, maybe it's even a side hustle, right? Like we're just, going along, and all of a sudden there's too much for us to do and there's enough money to delegate it. And then what, right? So,
yes.
So I know that you guys have this experience, have some experience with that journey. I would love to hear a little bit about you guys, about your business, where you started and kind of where you are.
We are an accounting and coaching firm. So I originally took over the business from my mother, who struggled with the same type thing. She struggled with hiring. She struggled with building a team. So She brought me on as a team member. And then when I got my CPA license, she transferred ownership to me. And that's when I guess you could say the shit just got real, because it's like, what am I doing? But I have a retail management background. Lynn has a management background. So we brought that to the table as well. So that's one thing that has helped both of us, because
Awesome.
You do have to go into that leadership role.
Yes, exactly. Oh, okay. I got this up real quick. We got some people in the chat. Hang on, it's loading. So continue. Yeah, go ahead. I see Mandy in the chat, and then it went away. So all right, so we got this going. So tell me, continue.
So once I took over from my mom, we had to make some really hard decisions, which turned into me having to fire my mom, because the culture was not what I had built up and what I wanted, what she wanted. And my dad was real sick at the time. So we split the practice in half. So we went one way, she went the other way.
Wow. That sounds like a challenge. If talk about hiring and firing challenges.
Yes, that was the hardest person I've ever had to fire. And then we had one other team member left at that time, but she was of the mindset, I don't want to change. This is the way we've always done it. And so I got tired of battling that. So we decided to part ways as well.
Yeah. Wow. And so you did take over a team as well. Did you have some employees under you, or was that it? You guys started just the two of you once that happened?
We went back to the two of us. And so I started looking. I told Lynn, she has a huge family. I'm like, I need some more people like you. So can you shake out your family tree and let's just find some people, because I can't do this by myself. So that's what we did.
That's incredible. So
based off personality.
Sorry, say that again.
Did it totally based off their personality, because I have a huge family, so I had to figure out which ones. So
yeah. So what did you look for? Like, what kind of qualities do you look for when you're hiring?
Well, we had gone to dinner with her sister and brother-in-law, and they were talking about her daughter. And I had known her daughter since she was very young, and she just didn't know what she wanted to be when she grew up. And she was working as a correctional officer at the time with 2 young kids. And it's like, what if I could change her life by bringing her in? Because I had an auditor and another CPA that did that for me. What if I can help her in that way? So when I first brought it to Lynn, she was like, hell no, no. And it wasn't because of who it was. She was like, I just don't want friction with my family. But the more we thought about it, we just took the thing because she had the willingness to learn and would learn anything.
Wow.
They had to be willing to learn. They had to be willing to grow and take on anything we pretty much threw at them.
Yeah.
If they had the right personality, that they didn't have the mindset that I don't know how to do that, so I can't, that doesn't work. As long as they had the mindset that I can try anything and I can learn it, that's what we look for.
Yes, absolutely. That makes so much sense. I mean, it's interesting because it's like, we all can go to college or go get certifications or go do whatever it is. But if we're not willing to learn on the job, we're not going to be able to master what we actually have to be able to do to execute our job, right? Like there's so much to be learned. And then when you find someone who's a quick learner, you can teach them anything, right? A quick, willing learner. We got some people in the chat. Sarah Palms, hey, Mandy Buendia is on. Jamin is on. Sarah Melvin, hey guys, thank you so much for joining us. Drop in the chat if you have any questions for Leslie and Lynn at all. We're talking about how the fuck do we build and lead a team, right? So really that willingness to learn is so important, that attitude, like you said, looking for the right personality pieces to put together that puzzle.
And not to hire people like you, and that's where a lot of people will hire based on yourself, but you're bringing on different skill sets. So I was looking for people that actually were like processor type people that could process stuff. Where I'm very visionary. So a lot of people will bring on people just like them, and it's not, and sometimes that's where they struggle.
So we brought our whole team. When we hired them, they knew nothing about accounting. They had no background in accounting whatsoever. We have 5 of them now, and all 5 of them have the same background, nothing in accounting. Since then, we have 2 that have graduated college with accounting, as their focus. One of them has gone for a bachelor's now for getting her marketing, but all of them had the right personality to where we could train them. And now we're sitting here on a 3-week road trip, and there's nothing that they cannot do in our business that we don't trust them to do. It's all about how you allow them to grow.
Yeah.
And we're very transparent with our team. We give them the permission to make the decisions, and they own the outcomes. So
wow.
Even when they screw up, they're like, hey, I screwed up. I'm like, but you made a decision. Let's work through that decision. And that's been huge, is just letting them own that outcome. And we were in a program, and they were like, if you give them the information and you give them permission to make that decision, but you have to let them own that outcome. That has been the biggest takeaway I took from that whole program, because I would give them the information, but I wouldn't force them to make it. They were coming to me with all the questions.
So you have to force them to come to you with a solution along with the question, because that teaches them along the way, and it'll build up their confidence. So a lot of people, they go out and they look for all these people with all this accounting background, and then you have it, well, this is not the way I was told to do it or taught to do it or how we used to do it. And that's the one phrase that Leslie and I both drives us crazy. This isn't how I was taught to do it, or this isn't how it's been done before. So we swore never hire anybody that we had to deal with that problem again.
Wow. So you guys have really been champions of building your own team from the ground up, as opposed to pulling someone off someone else's team, right? But really saying, okay, these are the kind of people we want. Let's empower them with the skills they need and empower them to make decisions for themselves. I think that's because, you know, one of my questions for you guys was going to be, and that kind of leads into it of, you know, if you're empowering them to make decisions for themselves, you're not becoming the bottleneck, right? Because I hear a lot of clients who are hiring or have hired, and then they say, well, then I just become the bottleneck of the business, so it doesn't even free up my time. So would you talk to me a little bit about that? Because it sounds like that really isn't the case for you guys. You're on a 3-week road trip.
It was the case because I was the answer to most things, especially tax related, high level accounting. I was the answer to all that. And how I solved that is I got all that crap out of my head and into a system that they could get the information. So, and that was key, was getting it out of my head. So like all the client information, because most of my clients have been with me for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of that back knowledge. So I spent one whole weekend of just brain dumping everything I knew about that client, how they're related to each other. And so now they can go to a document to actually see it. And like, this tax return needs to be done before this tax return. And so just getting all of that out, and in marketing, I'm doing the same thing because I was going to become the bottleneck again if I did start documenting everything.
Well, we did the same thing with our coaching program too. They're some of our lead coaches now. Me and Leslie and I, we are hardly on, you know, we attend the coaching calls as needed. We are constantly checking in. We keep touch with all of our clients, but they lead them. They totally take care of it. So they went from knowing nothing to
how to run an accounting firm.
How to run an accounting firm. So it goes back to making them come with you with a solution along with the question, or they'll drive you all day long.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that's what I hear that so often, you know, they driving me nuts. They're not coming to me with solutions. They're coming with questions. Right. Mandy says, did y'all teach them directly or help them through a course in the beginning?
Both. That we taught them directly, but then we started developing our processes to teach anybody from the process where they should be able to go through the process, and actually where nobody's having to teach them. And then we have a library of training videos. So just with like the technology, there's a whole training video on there. So that, and then we have a table of contents that has every process that we have in that table of contents.
The only other training that we have, 2 of them did go, you know, they have since went through college, but before they completed all that, it was on the job kind of training with us. We all made them get all QuickBooks Online certified. That way they could learn the system, because as we all know, it doesn't really teach you the whole ins and outs of everything. Just teach you pretty much how to use QuickBooks Online. But we invested in them. We took them to, you know, train conferences and stuff so they could learn firsthand. We invested in programs as far as like Run Like Clockwork and stuff, where they were actually able to communicate directly with the Run Like Clockwork team and stuff. So it's just, we are always investing. And bringing knowledge.
Yeah, one of them can do taxes now, where when they first started they couldn't do taxes.
Yeah.
Wow. So okay, so that leads me to the question of how Greg says yes, teaching people to critically think and make mistakes, building confidence. Yeah, exactly. So so my question then is like, you're investing a lot of time and energy and faith in these people, right? So how do you incentivize them to have the same goals as you do and as your team, right? Because you know, how do you know you're not going to invest in someone and they're like, okay, great, I'm off running my own business or whatever, or is that also kind of part of what you expect?
We when we were having them build out all the processes, I started looking at like the 4-hour workday. And I started looking at, or it's 4 or 5 hour workday, but so I asked them, what is it that you want? Most of them didn't want money. They wanted time off. So I started looking for ways and efficiencies. And like, we worked at that time, worked 4 10s, and they were off on Fridays. Pretty much they would alternate Fridays. So then I started looking at, okay, when are they productive? So that's when I came up with, they're only productive from 8 to 3 because they're knowledge workers. And that is, after that, and it wasn't anything against them because I was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
After 3 o'clock, I was done. So
Yeah.
they get paid for 40 hours, but worked around 26 to 30 hours a week.
Wow. Wow.
We get so much, they're so much more productive
Yeah.
working less hours, because now they can go home, they can spend the time with their kids. They can cook a healthy dinner. They can go to the baseball practice, soccer practice, whatever. They can attend the
Yeah.
school. We promote that. We want them to have that. Leslie and myself, we both have young children. They're grown now, but we had to make sacrifices we did not want them to make.
Wow. So really understanding what's important to them and putting that at the forefront so that your business culture is where they want to stay, it sounds like.
Well, we also allow them, I mean, like I said, we're totally transparent. We want their input on ways to take the business in different directions and what they're interested in. What are they strong, what do they want to do?
Wow.
It came back. I think I was telling you this story this past week in Buffalo. One of them, California, I believe it was in March, she was actually offered a job with awesome benefits. I mean, paid to travel and 6 figures a year and the whole 9 yards. And she came back, she told us about it. And she said, that's great. She didn't think she was eligible for these roles because of all the language that they like putting in this kind of stuff. So I said, let's look at it. We'll see if you qualify for it. So we wrote, said, you are totally qualified for both of them. If that's what you want, 110% behind you, will help you out anyway. She goes, I already told them no. She goes, there's no way in hell I'm leaving this culture. So, that was to solidify what we have been doing. So,
Wow. And so I know, what'd you say?
That's the one that's not related.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So that's saying something too, right? Sarah says in the chat, I find it so helpful to ask my employees the direction they want to go or what they want to change. It's so useful. We do it formally twice a year, but I'm always open. Wow. That's so interesting. So really finding out what drives them.
Yes. Because if they're not interested and they get bored, they will look elsewhere. So as long as you keep them engaged and, try and make sure they're happy, we always want to make sure they're happy. Because if they're not happy, that's going to come down in not only culture, but business wise altogether. So we try and, cut that off at the beginning of it so we don't have to worry about it.
But we also push them out of their comfort zone. So my admin was trying to, she was kind of getting bored. And so I'm like, hey, can you start writing articles? She's like, you're crazy. I'm not writing an article. You're out of your mind. And I'm like, just try it. If it's no good, then we'll trash it. She found she loves writing. So now she writes blog posts, she writes articles, and she'll send me a message and click up, hey, can I go ahead and write another article this week? I'm like, more power to you. But she found her love for writing because I just asked her, hey, can you try this for me?
Wow. So giving them the opportunity to grow so that, it makes so much sense, right? Now that I'm putting it together, right? You hire people who love to learn. You got to make sure that they have things to learn so that they're still interested in staying, right? Otherwise you got a bunch of smart people who are like, well, I nailed this. Now what's next?
So we just try to keep adding to theirs. So like they're all bookkeepers. They're all, they do marketing, they do sales calls, they do coaching, they do all the things, but it's like a mix, but that way they don't get bored.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Hello, Jill Cooper in the chat. Hello, gorgeous. We got all of our favorites. Hello, everyone. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm Lily Newhouse. I'm joined by Leslie and Lynn today. We're talking all about how to run a team. Drop a comment in the chat or in the comments if you're watching on the replay. Let us know where you're joining us from. I am in Las Vegas, and Leslie and Lynn are currently in the woods in Virginia, I believe. On a road trip. somewhere, but their team is running their business, and that's what matters. So, I would love to ask you, so many CEOs get anxious about delegating, and giving up control. You know, this is my baby. How do I let someone else, you know, they won't do it like I do. They don't care as much as I will. What would you say to someone who is struggling with the idea of delegating?
I had that problem too. I was very much a control freak, but what I had to do is realize if something happens to me, this whole business goes away. And then what happens to my clients if something happens to me? So we have had situations where I did have to check out because my mom got sick. And so then everything that I was bottlenecked in, I was still bottlenecked times 5. So I had to get in my that I'm not the only one that can do this, and their way actually was better because they're not neat.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same thing. And I guess to start, you know, if you're really anxious about it and you're really worried, do it in little bite-sized pieces. You know, you'll learn to adapt. And I'm telling you, I'm delegation queen now, man. If something come across, it's like, oh hell no, who can I give this to? You know, I mean, she's the same way too. She'll screw around every once in a while. Say, hey, can you do this? No, somebody else can. Know.
That's amazing, man. I know I'm a delegation queen. I mean, I grew up having someone else change my diapers. That was my first delegation, you know, like I love it, you know. Mandy says she's joining from Spring, Texas. Sarah's here from Western Washington. Squirrel Girl is here from East Texas. Jill says you all need to talk to Mal. I would delegate all of it if I could. So it sounds like sounds like we have some CEOs who need your advice.
Well, hello, fellow Texans. We're trying to make our way, slowly making our way back to Lake Jackson, Texas. I know the one in Spring knows exactly where that's at.
Oh yeah. Awesome. There's so many towns in Texas, man. It's like Pennsylvania and Ohio too. There's so many small towns. I mean, it's crazy. So I'm just like, tell me a city you're near and I'll look on a map. So what would you say, you know, so my dad worked his way up in a newsroom. That was his career. He started as a reporter on the most boring beat in the newsroom, going to municipal meetings, and worked his way up to editor-in-chief of a newspaper. And I know that when he got that job, he started studying leadership because that's not something that you just know. Leadership is a skill and a skill set, right? So Sarah Melvin says she's here from Richmond, Texas, and Mandy says you're practically neighbors. So I'm curious what you would have to say about what it really takes to lead a team.
You have to do a lot of soul searching, mindset on yourself, and checking in with yourself to lead a team. Because just like I was talking to one of my coaching clients today, I was talking about you want to go from either CEO from technician to CEO really quick, but you have to study the leadership behind it. You have to understand people's personalities. You have to understand what drives them. And so learn as much as you possibly can about leadership. I know when I was in retail, I did a lot of leadership training there, and I'm still to this day do a lot of leadership training. And I know so does Lynn.
And you have to know you have to know your employees to know where to put them in the company. You can't just get a visionary and put them in a processor role. It will not work. You can't get an operator and expect them to be visionary. It's not going to happen. So you have to know your team, and you have to be able to empathize and listen. If you can't listen, if you don't have good listening skills, that's your first thing to work on. Yeah. Because they say a lot without saying nothing.
And we have like a what we call an end of day stand up, where they tell us what their wins were, what their roadblocks was, and what their plan is tomorrow. So when we were in Buffalo, I kept checking, our communication channels, and I saw my admin her end of day stand up was kind of concerning to me. So I picked up the phone. I'm like, hey, can we talk? And she was like, yeah. And then she just really lost it. she was struggling with something personally, but you can't leave it at the door. And so I just talked her through it and we talked about it. And the end of the day, Stand Up Next, that same day, she was like, thank you, Leslie, for just reaching out. I just needed you to reach out. And I didn't even know I needed it. So that's the kind that I was able to read through that, because we are all remote. So you have to have ways to be able to read what is going on with somebody.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Jill says, my assistant decided to go back to corporate America, so I'm starting the search again. Oof, yeah. Greg says he's joining from Little Rock, Arkansas. Heck yeah. Arkansas, I can spell that. AR, Kansas. Okay, so that's really interesting. Yeah, I think it's, Mike, I'm curious, what kind of practices like that stand up do you have in place? Because it sounds like your team is very cohesive and connected, even when you're not in the same location.
We have click up chat. So they'll so like today I had one that was out sick with a sick child. And so I'm like, hey, we make sure this is done today. And then I would tag people in it. Hey, can you help with this? And they'll just help each other. And then one of them just commented, hey, I have capacity today, just let me know. But it goes back to that 6-hour workday, because they know I will pull it away if the work doesn't get done.
But we also have weekly team check-ins where we come together, through Zoom or whatever, and we check in on each other, both personally, your personal wins and challenges and your business wins and challenges. And we talk about anything and everything that they want to talk about. So we keep that connection.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really so it sounds like you really have a good balance with your team of supporting them professionally, but also really helping them understand, like, we're all full people, and we expect you to be a human too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What would you say is the most important thing about leading a team?
Being transparent with them. You have to be real with them. So just like when I'm in a mood, I'll just tell, hey, I'm just in this funk of a mood. And they're like, hey, I get it. We're all women. We get it, so it's just, just have to be transparent. And when we're fixing to make huge changes in the business, when we were going to invest in Alyssa's program, we brought it to the team. Hey, what do y'all think about this? And we did all the pros and cons together. So yes, we have the ultimate decision, but they also were investing in it as well.
So I would say honesty, clarity, and listening. Really caring. I mean, they're not just a placeholder or a robot, I guess. A body. Treat them as a person, and they're in respect. Just give them the respect they deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes sense, because if you treat people like they're dispensable, they'll leave, right? They will, you manifest them being dispensable. If you treat them with value, then they will value being there. It makes sense to me.
Give them the encouragement they need. They will take off.
Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. It's really cool to hear about your culture of growth and all of that support. Would you let my audience know what kind of services you guys offer, how they might be able to learn a little bit more from you before we jump off?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook and just send me a message. We do coaching to help build teams, or if you have an existing team and you're struggling with that team, like we work on leadership skills and moving from a technician into an actual CEO. And then we also have a Facebook group, CEO, scaling to CEOs for accountants and bookkeepers.
Yeah, accountants and bookkeepers are our niche. That's who we work with, because we've been there, we've done it, we know exactly what you're going through, we know how to get you to the other side. So it's not just teams that we work on anything in your business, any roadblocks that you're coming across. We also have a website, LionDasCPA.com. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I don't have a big enough team yet for you guys, but when I do, I'm, bringing you in and stealing everything you've got in your brain and in your team, because what you guys do is amazing. I'm so grateful I got to talk to you this week. Anybody out there who wants to talk to these ladies more, they are giving gold mines of knowledge and wisdom, and you guys are just also so wonderful to talk to. So thank you guys so much for being here today with my audience.
Thank you. Just loved it.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Well, guys, we are here every Tuesday, same time, same place. So I will see you guys next week for another valuable training. Love you all. Thank you so much. Jamin says amazing guests. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your time. Bye.
Bye.